Okay, I want to hear your opinion now.
You want to hear my opinions?
I want to hear your opinion.
All
Loose
right.
entrance. That was our entrance. Now we're just in the episode. Go.
You want to have like a cold opening?
I think if we have that, we're gonna have a cold opening. It has to be like a Luke. It's not like Luke cold. Like
Luke cold?
yeah, like lukewarm is like kind of warm but not warm. Is there like
Mm-hmm.
something that's like not cold but not like freezing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Whatever that is, we need that. Like we need it pseudo planned. We're like we're gonna do cold opening, so let's just talk about something funny and then we go into it. Kind of like our first episode. I feel like now that we're talking about should this be this probably wouldn't be a good opening.
I mean, I think it could be.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it. Sorry everyone. If you didn't like it.
Cold open. Hey, we're starting actually after our first year anniversary, so we gotta start something new. So,
Is this when was our first episode?
like in March, we were planning to do something and we never did.
Oh, I completely forgot. I thought it was in May.
It's like
I
on your
remember it was an
calendar.
M month. Happy anniversary. Woo, we're 1 year old. Yeah. Should I just rip up a napkin and toss up confetti?
We
Woo! I'm sure there's some sort of graphic we can do.
Yeah, something. There's probably a confetti one.
Yeah. Well, too bad. Now this is a depressing opener. And I'm sure there's someone on there who just clicked out because like I don't want to watch this. I want a Doctor Strange. Now I'm getting these two strange people.
Well, then let's give them the Doctor Strange. Let's give them
Okay,
the madness.
give the people what they want.
Exactly.
Okay, go.
So I'm not going to say my thoughts because you know I'm going to give all my opinions out in one go. So I feel like just for the sake of argument and time, I think we should just let you do your
Nope.
part,
No,
and
no,
then
no.
I just
No. I want to hear your part. Because I'm sure
oh,
something you're gonna say in there
today
is
I want
gonna
to give
make
my
me.
mouth a rest. I want to have you speak everything.
No, no. Yeah. Part of me is like that, but the other part is you definitely will have more opinions, and I feel like what you say, I'll be able to branch off of later.
Mhm.
So I need you to be my catalyst.
Okay.
Be the catalyst, Rob.
Let's see. Let's start with just like overarching thoughts on this
Okay.
movie because I feel like that would be the best way to go.
Okay.
My overarching thoughts are that this movie was madness. It was kind of crazy. It was a lot of fun. Uh, it was kind of chaotic, both in a good and a bad way. And
Controlled chaos.
yeah, and yeah, it was just a really, really good movie. Like it's not in my top three,
Mm,
let's say.
I would agree with that assessment. It's
And
very
also,
dark,
yeah,
very, very violent too.
something that I think you would like.
I get into that later.
I will say that like this was not better than No Way Home,
Mhm.
which
I
is
agree.
kind of really okay. So that's good because like I've known a lot of people, not like people that I know, but people that I've seen online say that this is so great, like blah blah blah. Like I feel like this was less than No Way Home in terms of like how I felt during the movie.
Yeah.
You know, there were certain parts that I like, I felt good, I felt excited, I was like, yeah. But then there were
Mhm.
other parts I was like, what? And then what? And then it's like,
Yeah. I agree 100%. No Way Home, in my opinion, as well.
mm,
What was it also had a bunch of nostalgia going for it too. So I think
true.
it's hard.
Yeah,
Spider Man's just awesome. Not
right.
that Doctor Strange isn't awesome,
No.
but it was just a different. It was literally they were both superhero movies, both
Mhm.
Marvel movies, but they were completely different types of movies. Like they
Yes.
were polar opposites. One was like a funny kind of movie with like emotion, and then the
Mhm.
other one was just like dark,
Dark and
violent,
scary and
horror
horrifying.
esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different movies. And then
Mhm.
Thor's just gonna be like Thor is
really
literally the polar
crazy.
opposite, probably, of this movie, right? If I
Yeah,
had to guess. Okay, but let's get into the nitty gritty.
yeah. So I kind of want to get into the horror vibes because I kind of want to hear what you feel about it
Hmm.
because we have a TV show that we just watched in Moon Knight that had more dark and horror vibes to it
Hmm.
than a conventional Marvel TV show. But then we
Yeah,
also had this movie, which dialed that up to like 100.
very much so. Very much so. I can tell you, with complete honesty,
Hmm. Did you wet yourself?
I did not. I actually wasn't scared in it. I think
Okay.
because I knew it was a Marvel movie, I was like, there's no way there's going to be something that over the top that's going to like
Mhm.
break me, if you know what I
Right.
mean.
Hmm.
I actually didn't jump. I was very tired when I went to it. So I
Went
didn't
at 7
jump
o'clock, guys, just by the way. He went like later in the nighttime.
yeah. Well, it wasn't because of the time. It was just it's gonna sound terrible. Like work was tiring because I had a lot of things to do at work, and then my workout for some reason that day really exhausted me. So I was just like spent. So I didn't like. I still enjoyed the movie. I didn't sleep during it. I was still captivated, but I think my body was just so physically tired that I didn't jump at any of like the popping scenes.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. It didn't. It definitely didn't scare me. I didn't have nightmares or anything like that, but definitely had that kind of feel to it.
You weren't dream walking in someone else's universe?
Yeah, no. When I was going to bed, I was like, I hate that that's in my mind right now. That's all I'm gonna be thinking about.
I'm going to sleep in someone else's universe is in my brain.
So when I dream that I have Captain America's superpowers,
I actually am Captain America?
that was like honestly that was the first thing I thought of when they said that. I was like,
Oh, in a universe. I
yeah,
am Captain America? Mm.
yeah. I thought that was an interesting theory that they said, but I feel like it's I don't know. It was an interesting thing that they put in there.
Mhm.
I didn't see that part coming. How did you think about it?
So I have a particular type of reaction when it comes to horror movies. My reaction when it comes to horror movies is that like I know that this is fake. I'm not
Mm.
feeling scared about certain things, and whenever something scary happens, I usually like laugh because I'm like, "Oh, this is so stupid."
I see.
You
Do you
know?
like horror movies?
So I like them in an entertaining way. I don't like them in a kind of roller coaster way where it's like have the adrenaline feel of like the tension and the drama and like, something's about to come out of the shadows or something's going to happen to this character or something like that. That's not
Okay.
my view of it. My view of it is like, it's entertaining. It's fun. It's like, it's like when I encounter people who believe in UFOs. It's like, oh, that's a cool little thing you think about right there. I never give it any serious thought or attention because it's like, I know it's not real, and I know that it is something that is only entertaining me rather than like going to scare me.
Like you're like you have a healthy level of detachment from it.
Right, exactly.
Okay. I
Yeah.
kind of felt like that during this movie. I think that was a good way to put it.
Mhm. But I
I
do
didn't
think
laugh,
that like the
but
horror aspects of any kind of horror trope were there in Marvel in this movie
mhm.
because there were a lot of points where it's like when Wanda came out of the gong from the mirror
Yeah,
dimension and just like had her whole body like contorted and twisted. I was like, oh, this is getting serious. and
yeah.
then
Huh.
and
I
then
don't
like
know if
when
I'm
they
gonna
were in
like
like the
this.
and then when they were like in the tunnel and they were like going down through the tunnels and everything, she was chasing after them and like the door closed and it's like where'd she go? And she came out of nowhere on the other side. It's like, those are the type of tropes that I
Why
know
didn't they keep running? Why did they stop
okay.
to watch?
So I've watched this movie twice already. So
Okay.
I didn't understand it the first time I saw it. Then the second time, you kind of go into evaluation of what you saw the first time. And
Mm.
the second time I saw it, it's because the door in front of them closed. So like the blast door in front of them closed and behind them, and you can't access the door in front of you with the buttons that they were pushing. You had to activate it on the other side of the door, so they were kind of trapped almost. but it was like the excuse to give this kind of horror scene, because
How'd they get through
obviously,
it?
so Strange actually used a spell to like lift the door up, which I know you may be thinking like, why didn't he do that earlier? I
Mm,
mean, shit, if we're gonna go into the complicated like derivations of this scene, let's just leave it at this was made to be a horror scene,
yeah.
a
Plus
typical horror scene,
adrenaline going through his veins.
right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't notice that the first time. The
Mhm.
door dropping on the other side.
Yeah, neither did I. And it wasn't until they started running again after like he put all the water in there, like he released all the water inside the area,
Mm.
that I noticed that like the he had to lift the door up. So I was like, oh, okay, so that's why, and it makes sense at
That
least
doesn't.
somewhat.
It makes more sense than just
Yeah,
pausing.
right. It's like, why are you running? I heard a lot of people in my theater going, like, why are you not running?
I know. In my head, I'm like, just go. Just keep going. Just come on. Come on. You're not running a marathon. Just a little bit farther.
Open the door.
Yeah. Open
Yeah.
sesame. Yeah.
Um, but the horror aspects, this did feel like a horror movie. It wasn't too graphic. It wasn't too much. I feel like this was perfectly fine. Like I felt like this was just enough horror to make you feel like this is a different genre. Because obviously, Marvel movies are based on different genres of movies, like
Mhm,
heist movies, time travel movies,
mhm.
spy movies, etc. So there's many
Yeah.
different aspects, and this is the first horror film for Marvel. So they
Mhm,
gave just enough of the taste of
mhm.
horror without being too gruesome or vile or anything else.
Yeah. Without pushing it too far.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. I think some things were a little overly violent. I think in some of the fight scenes, but
Certain parts,
what was that?
certain parts,
Certain parts. Yeah.
which we will get to.
Um. But the horror theme, I don't think was too bad. Like I don't think it was like the classical you have popcorn then you throw it everywhere because you get scared kind of thing. I don't
Mhm.
think it was that level.
No,
So I think it was a good introduction to it.
yeah.
And I wonder, do we know how well it's doing rating wise?
I think it made almost $500 million in its opening weekend, so
Not too shabby.
not too shabby.
What about ratings? Do we know if people are liking it or not?
Why don't we discuss that in the ratings section because there's some interesting opinions about that I kind of want
Okay.
to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So
what's the next thing?
let's talk about like the general aspects of at least the beginning of the movie because the beginning of the movie we have Doctor Strange. Like, what did you think of the opening scene? Actually, let me just discuss this. Like the opening scene with Defender Strange and America Chavez running through the Gap region to get to the Book
Mhm.
of Ashanti. Like that was an interesting way to open up the movie, just like out of the pocket, just ready to go.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. I was trying to determine if that was like the normal Doctor Strange Prime, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
call him.
Mm-hmm.
Doctor Strange 62616.
616.
616.
Yep.
Thank you. But then I was like, no, because that's something happened or he dyed his hair. That's not him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, my next guess was, is it the one from what's it called?
What if?
What If? Thank you. I was like, not the Watcher. Like that's the character in it. What If? Thank you. I was like, is it him? Kind of looks like him. This place kind of looks like it could be like that little ball that he's trapped in,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't him.
No.
And then when he betrayed America, I was like,
Mm-hmm. This is not
I,
Strange.
yeah, I was like, I don't like this Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I like Doctor Strange Prime.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up, and I was like, oh, that was an interesting dream.
I
But
think it's interesting that they open up this scene and then they have like a pretty not gruesome, but it's a pretty like nasty death. And you go like ooh, who started out that way? Just
yeah,
getting stabbed right there.
that's a good point. I didn't think about that. I didn't think about like the scene as in detail. It's probably should have. Yeah, that was a very intense way to have it right at the beginning. Like there was no like slow build up. It was just
And with him saying the quote from No Way Home that like in the grand calculus of the multiverse, your sacrifice means infinitely more, and he was cut off when he got impaled.
yeah. I don't like that speech.
Well, it's kind of representative that like all Doctor Stranges are the same and they think in the same way of how the multiverse works. Like, your
Yeah,
one little thing will not be so great in the grand scheme of all things,
yeah. I still don't like the logic.
Yeah, it's fine.
Nah, it doesn't have to be for everyone, right?
um,
Uh,
and then we have the wedding of Christine Palmer, and then we get to Gargantos, right?
mm,
And I want to talk about like another thing that made both theaters that I was at cringe, which was when like he like stabbed him in the eye and then plucked it out.
yeah. Right when that happened, I was like,
Oh.
I was like, I know what's happening. I'm just gonna look away.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was just gonna get stabbed in the eye. I didn't think he was gonna get like pulled out. And I was like, oh, interesting choice.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Within like the first 10 minutes of the movie, there's like two very gross esque violence
It set
scenes.
the tone, I think, for the movie. It's like how
It
this is
did
gonna
well.
go and how this is gonna be different, which I like. I like how you set the tone right off the bat to show like this is how we're gonna do this, guys.
Yeah, they did a good job being very consistent.
Hmm. So
Um,
let's get to
mhm.
the big part of this movie, which was the big reveal that Wanda Maximoff is the true villain of this movie, the Scarlet Witch.
Did you hear that? Did you see that coming?
Yes, because I've heard it from a lot of people
Mhm.
online.
I heard it like the
Oh,
day of on Jimmy Fallon.
oh, really?
Yeah, and like her reaction is like, I know we can't have any spoilers here, but there's some theories out there. And once like he like explained the theory and
Mhm.
like her answer, I was like, okay, she's definitely the villain. I was like, the way you answered that is to like around like too much of a roundabout answer. Like she never actually denied that she wasn't.
Right.
I was like, she definitely is.
Yeah.
But then I thought back to the scene where he's like recruiting her, and I'm like, how
Hmm.
does that play into this?
Right.
But definitely, I definitely didn't expect what happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, like I figured she would be like somehow the villain, and Doctor Strange would be the hero. But I didn't think it was gonna make that stark of like what was gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
that was like brutal.
So like the scene where Kamartaj gets attacked by her, that whole
Mhm.
scene, I thought that was like I love so my big thing is like I love when they like were when Wong said like Kamartaj is gonna become a fortress and the music starts playing. I'm like, we're gonna go. I know everybody's gonna die, but this is gonna go. This is gonna be hard. And then like she comes in the black cloud, it's just like right there. I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, it was intense.
Hmm.
They did a very good job of building suspense through that whole movie, I think.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't like
Mhm.
one there's probably a couple minutes, but I can't think back to like one moment where I wasn't like expecting something to just happen. Like there's
Right.
like no like relaxation in that movie. Except at
Which
the
I
end.
like. I don't like when it's not I don't like. I think when things go slow in a movie, it kind of like loses interest. But when you have tension and build up throughout the entire movie, that's kind of like really good. It's like, kind of accelerating to like where you want to go.
Yeah, it's a good way to make a movie,
Hmm.
right? I agree with that. Especially this type of movie. I feel like
Right.
other movies like Interstellar, like they can have ups and downs. That's
Hmm.
just a different type of movie. I don't think
Yeah.
you could have like a thriller or a movie that doesn't build.
Hmm.
But what are we talking about? I'm just kidding.
uh, so after that whole scene,
Mm,
America and Strange fly through the multiverse to get
mhm,
through to uh, Earth 838, as it's being designated as.
mhm.
First, what did you think of like the visuals and like going through all the multiverse? Like, what did you think of that?
I thought it was very Doctor Strange because like the first movie, their visuals on point.
Hmm.
So it only made sense that the second movie they would have some crazy visual in there, and I
Right.
think they did a good job. It was very a lot of the things that happened to them I wasn't expecting, like the paint.
Mhm. Yeah.
They even comment on the paint one, but it was very well done. I
Right.
think. Mhm.
Hmm.
What do you think? Because I know you like the visuals.
Oh yeah, I think the visuals were excellent in this movie, and I think that one scene was really resonant of that, just going through all these different universes. It's
Mhm,
really trippy. It's
mhm,
reminiscent of the 1960s and 70s when Doctor Strange was written.
mm.
That like these types of visuals and these like very trippy journeys through different realities and stuff. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with it. I wonder how long it took to edit.
Probably a long time.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
What'd you think about the scene that's like right after that? There's two scenes right after that that I want to talk to you about. But when they both stood on like that memory pad.
Oh yeah.
So Doctor Strange's, um, I feel like we could kind of see coming. Like it was when he got the watch, which was
Hmm.
very sad. Like you can tell that that was an important memory because it's what popped up.
Hmm.
But what do you think about America's? I didn't know her backstory. I don't know if you did beforehand or not.
Yeah, I learned about it before the movie. It's very interesting because obviously it's like the first time she made star portals, and her mothers are like taken away from her and basically stuck through the multiverse because of an accident because she was afraid of a bee or whatever insect you want to call it in this universe. Because she's not technically like from any universe. She's like in the gaps between universes. Basically, she's like this interdimensional being. It's different. Um,
Interesting.
so yeah, I thought it was a really interesting backstory of how to like get her started down this path. Basically,
Hmm.
it's gonna be interesting to see like what happened between that point and then what's happening now. Like, how is there the connection between the two? Because obviously she's older now,
Hmm.
so it's interesting. I really liked that interesting backstory with her.
Hmm. It was really sad. I didn't expect. I didn't really think about what her backstory would be, but I
Mhm.
wasn't expecting that because she definitely blames herself in it,
Mhm.
and she says it. I really hope she gets to see them again at some point.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was interesting, and you just touched on it that she is the only one of herself.
Yeah.
And how did you get to the conclusion that she's from a place that's in between the dimensions, or is that the only conclusion that you can make?
Well, I know from the comics that she's not from a universe. She's like in the interdimensional being type, you know?
Okay.
Um, but also since she said that she's the only one, that there's no other hers in any universe, that's indicative of the fact that she is from not a universe, but from the space between universes. And that's why she can be able to transport between one universe and another, is because she's different. She doesn't.
Mhm.
She can be able to transfer through multiverse, and that's also the reason why Wanda can't go through the multiverse, because she doesn't have that power. She's from a universe,
Mhm.
but because America can be able to go through the multiverse, she needed to use her power to go through and get to a place where she has her kids. So,
Mhm. What did you think about? It's a little bit of a tangent. What did you think about that motivation?
so I think that Wanda's justified in her argument to Strange about how he breaks the rules, he's the hero, but if she breaks the rules, she's the villain. And if she's trying to break some rules in order to do something for herself that would be good in the grand scheme of things, how is it that she's become this villain type and he's a hero for breaking the rules and the laws of nature and stuff? You know, I
Mhm.
think that's justified. It's kind of like, how is it that you can be able to do it, but I can't? But obviously, like, since she was corrupted by the Darkhold and that she is doing whatever she wants to do in order to obtain her children, including kill people, then that's where you obviously draw the line. And
Mhm.
that's where I can't follow that. But obviously, I do understand the justification. And obviously, when she and Strange were talking up when they were above Carmitage, of like, She blew Vision's head for no reason in the grand scheme of things because Thanos reversed time and got it anyway. She like lost basically everything, and she's had so much emotional turmoil that Strange doesn't really understand sacrifice in the same way that she does.
Mm.
So in that sense, like, I can understand that justification, but now that she's been corrupted and that she's killing people, it's kind of like, well, Strange doesn't kill people for his own benefit. He has to kill people if it's the only means necessary, and that's why he says, like, yeah, I made this happen. Like, I gave the time stone to Thanos was because we were at war and it was the only option for us to do.
Mhm. See, I kind of, I'm not sure if I agree with the logic. I see the argument, like you
Hmm.
say, but I feel like it's the rule breaking is different because they have different intentions,
Right.
which is kind of what you're alluding to at the end there.
Hmm.
Um, I think if people broke the rules with good intentions,
Hmm.
people will give them the benefit of the doubt because they know they meant well, which
Hmm.
is Doctor Strange's case. But if you don't do that, then that's when you get criticized for it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she definitely went through a lot of trauma and heartbreak
A
and
lot of
just
emotional damage.
yeah. I mean, just watch the end of WandaVision
Hmm.
and you see, right?
Hmm.
But now, oh, wait, now it's too early to talk about that. Never mind.
He wants to talk about that, but we're not gonna get there yet because we have to talk about. Let's talk about the scenes between Wong and Wanda because that was pretty interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely different than a different dynamic than I expected.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. What specifically did you want to talk about there?
I mean, I definitely like that he's always in opposition to Wanda,
Mm,
and even though, like, he's Sorcerer Supreme, so he has to like make sure that the fabric of reality stays the way it is, but he understands that like sometimes you have to sacrifice at least a little bit in order to eventually get things to where they are. So that's why, even though like his friends and the fellow sorcerers are being tortured, he gave up where one the Gore Mountain was
mm,
basically. And he knew that like maybe in the end something will you know fix itself because usually he has like Doctor Strange and his allies to be able to help him. So
mm,
that's probably, the way it is. But like I feel like he did command a presence. And I also want to mention that I did like that he actually got a theme to this movie, like not like a theme song, like the music. He actually got some musical piece to him that identified him, and rather than like just being general sorcery type of music that like
mm,
Michael Giancano did for the first Doctor Strange. Danny Elfman, who did this one, actually gave Wong a theme. Like when he came out first, going up against Gargantos, he actually had a theme song. You could hear that a couple times in the movie as like his theme would come on when he was presented. So I
that's
like that
cool.
aspect of it, and it gave
I
him
didn't
some
notice.
individualism in a way.
Mhm. I like that. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
Um, I have to try and keep an eye out or an ear out for that next time.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because he's definitely a central character.
Hmm.
Very important.
Right.
I mean, Sorcerer Supreme.
Hmm.
You get much more important than that, right?
No, not really.
So, what did you think when he got thrown off the mountain?
He
Did you think?
obviously didn't die. I knew that. I knew he was dead because of the trailers, but
Ah,
um,
okay.
I don't know how many people actually really thought that he was dead at that point. I knew that he was just thrown off and like discarded for a later part of the movie, but yeah, I didn't really think that he was dead or anything.
I was like 60-40 that he was alive.
Really?
Because I was like, no, they're not just gonna do it that casually.
Exactly.
So, but then the other part of me was like, I don't know. There's been a lot that's happened this movie, so
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But I know
And
you're dying to get to Earth 838 because we have some stuff to talk about in this part.
There's one thing that I want to talk. The one thing that I almost brought up before has to do with Earth 616.
The Earth of the MCU.
Yeah,
Okay.
but that I think
It will relate.
only comes up after we know how this movie concludes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So let's kind of accelerate a little bit to get to this part of the movie where Strange and America were captured by Sorcerer Supreme Mordo because the Strange in this universe was killed by Thanos. Not really. And they were taken to where the Illuminati is. Now, Billy, you probably have never heard of the Illuminati from Marvel Comics whatsoever.
Well, you brought it up when in the first trailer, and we're like, is that Mr. X's voice? Is that who's talking?
Right.
And you actually told me then what the group was called, but other than that, I hadn't heard of them.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister's fiance definitely had never heard of them because when they said their name, he laughed out loud.
It's like the Illuminati from our universe.
So I thought that was just funny because like I was expecting it, and when they said it, he just laughed. I was like, oh, that's funny. It was very cool to see like that whole bunch there. Like every time like another character showed up, people in like my movie theater, in the theater I was in, cheered each time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had the different aspect of it. So,
okay.
Let's go through the Rolodex of who is in the Illuminati.
Okay.
In order. So we go from Sorcerer Supreme Mordo. Mm-hmm. We have Captain Carter, which I feel like would be your favorite because, you know, Captain America, Captain Carter, you obviously love the aspects of anything with Captain America.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting her in it.
All right, good. You haven't seen some of the later trailers that came out like a couple days before the movie, so you didn't get to see that.
The only trailer I saw for this movie was the first one.
Okay, great. So you didn't see that part. I did, so I was expecting it.
Okay.
So did you like that she came into this movie?
I like that she came into the movie. I don't like something
what
else
happened?
later.
We're gonna get to that.
This isn't the one from What If though, right?
No, because we are in Multiverse, which is an infinite number of universes, so we can't assume that this is the same Captain Carter. We're going to say this is a different version of Captain Carter, but it's like the same character.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And who is next? Black Bolt, which is actually the same guy who played him in The Inhumans from ABC, which was like a very short-lived TV show that happened like several years ago.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know the characters from like cartoons and stuff.
Okay,
I didn't know he was in like there was an actual live action.
Yeah, there's an actual live action. That's the same actor who played him.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yep.
I like how they did that.
Yeah. And then we have Captain Marvel, which was Maria Rambeau. So in this alternate universe, it wasn't God, why am I forgetting her name?
Carol Danvers.
She's so forgettable. Carol Danvers. It wasn't her that got all the energy absorbed from the engine. It was Maria Rambeau who was in this. She was an interesting one, I think. She had a lot of charisma, and I think she handled herself in a similar way to how Carol does, almost. You know,
I agree.
Just in the way that she holds herself up and how she presents things is in the same way, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then
my most favorite one of the entire movie, which was Dr. Reed Richards.
I wasn't expecting that.
John Krasinski.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. He was a good actor for it.
Yeah, so that actually has been a fan favorite for many years, that he should play Mr. Fantastic and that his wife, Emily Blunt, should play Sue Storm. So
is that his wife in real life?
Yes.
Wow, so that would be.
That's Marvel's way of like, we'll see how the fans like this. And that was actually the only point in the movie where the first night I saw it, people cheered and clapped. That was the only time.
That
No
definitely
other
was the
characters or anything
loudest
else
one too.
happened.
That was the loudest one in my theater.
Yeah.
Now I know why. I had no clue. I was just like, everyone loves Mr. Fantastic, apparently.
Oh yeah, we love him because it's John Krasinski. It's the one for the most part, most of us really wanted to play him. And
Mm.
this is kind of like, and we'll get into why these characters kind of showed up in my theories to why, but it's like,
Mm.
it's Marvel's way of going like, let's give them the fan service by giving them, the one that they wanted, which of
It was a
course.
perfect, yeah, it was a perfect way to do it, where they could do it without
Mhm.
being forced to have that for every movie now.
Right, exactly.
Right?
It's like the test run, basically.
Exactly. You don't get a lot of chances like that in movies,
Hmm.
except Iron Man 1 with Rhodey.
Yeah,
But we don't talk about that.
you Um, and
Or
then
the
the
Hulk.
last member of the Illuminati is obviously Professor Charles Xavier, who
Mhm.
you probably may or may not have heard it, but like when he got introduced, it was the X-Men 97 cartoon theme song that was playing as he was rolling in.
No, I didn't
And
notice.
and the design of the chair and his suit is the same as the X-Men cartoon from the 90s. So
Interesting.
it's not probably the same Professor X, but it's a similar one, a variant, let's say, of the Professor X from that universe.
In the same vein.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
So,
So
collective group as a whole, what do you feel? How do you feel about it?
definitely a healthy mixture of people,
Yeah.
because most of those don't exist in Earth 616. It's
Hmm.
just interesting that they could gather all of them together
Yeah.
in that one. But I want
It's,
to hear.
it's
Uh,
interesting that they all exist in the same universe. And it's kind of like, this could be what the MCU could provide later on down the line.
like in
This
Earth
could be the future of
616.
what it looks like.
Yeah, like they could bring in all the X-Men and
Hmm.
um Inhumans,
Hmm.
Fantastic Four. I know they're already thinking about Fantastic Four, right?
Yep.
So yeah, this is like a perfect way to kind of foreshadow what
Hmm.
616 would look like.
Yeah.
But I want to hear, because you said you have some theories about why they chose these specific characters.
Hmm.
So why?
So each one of these characters represents something, right?
Okay,
Sorcerer Supreme Mortal represents sorcery and the mystic arts.
I see what
Captain,
you're saying.
Captain Carter represents the Avengers. Uh, Black Bolt represents the Inhumans. Uh, Professor X represents the X-Men. Uh, Mr. Fantastic represents the Fantastic Four. Captain Marvel represents the Cosmos. So each one of these characters represents an aspect of like these teams in the similar way that the Illuminati from the comics represents certain aspects of the Marvel universe. So in the original Marvel comics, it was Namor who represented the area of Atlantis. It was Iron Man who represented the Avengers, Professor X who represented the X-Men, Doctor Strange who represented the Mystic Arts, Black Bolt for the Inhumans, and then Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. So they were all part of some group of superheroes or some area, whereas like, they kind of had to come together and form as one group, basically, in a
Mhm.
similar way that they did for the movie. So they chose these characters for that particular reason. But in a grander scheme of things, I think that this was all basically like a trial run, a test run for the screen audience to see how they react to certain characters, like Mr. Fantastic and John Krasinski. How do you react to that? Because it could influence how they make the Fantastic Four movie. It's like if there's positive reviews for him being Mr. Fantastic, then good, we'll put him in as Mr. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Professor X, I don't think they're going to put Patrick Stewart in as Professor Charles Xavier because he's
Mhm.
kind of up there in age. So I don't think he's going to be Professor X, but it's kind of like, a nod to the fans of like the X-Men franchise. It's like, we'll give you him again, basically.
Mhm.
Um, Black Bolt, it's kind of the same thing. Like, we're kind of dishing out the Inhumans a little bit. We're not going to present that the Inhumans are coming in, but we're going to kind of like, giving you a little taste of it, in that similar way. Um, and it's, I think, all very intentional by Marvel to see how we react, because
Mhm.
that's why they're not our Prime Universe's versions of these characters. They're another universe's version of these characters.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Hmm.
Have one each representing something while also wanting to check to see how people react to these specific characters.
Yeah. And if it's a positive one, then they will kind of keep them in and use them for later on projects.
Mhm. I'm excited to see what comes about
Hmm.
from it. I'm excited to see their Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see like a true Marvel Fantastic Four.
Hmm.
I think it'd be cool.
So, uh, first, before we get into the main point of where my opinions lie, I want to ask how you felt about Wanda dreamwalking into a version of herself in this universe, and how it looked the first time when it was like basically like a haunted house kind of horror vibe, when she tried to get into the body first, and then like the Darkhold was destroyed during that time, and then when she got to Wonder Mountain, came back again and like inhabited her body.
Um, so what do you mean by what I think? Like, do I think it was
Did you think it was scary? Did you think it was like
okay?
effective in that scary kind of aspect? Like, did you
I
feel
didn't
like
think
there was some sort of like menace to her?
not until the fighting started.
Okay.
Like, I felt like everyone saw that it was coming. That there's gonna be a way that's
Hmm.
happening in. Um, so I wasn't like scared or worried or anything like that until the fighting started. And then once the fighting started, that's when I was like, oh, fucking crackers.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's when it got intense. That's when I
Yeah.
was like worried
Hmm.
for the characters.
Hmm.
Now, what about you?
So I liked that like she broke the fourth wall. That was pretty cool. When she looked into directly in the camera, looking at us, like, she means business. Let's go, you know? Um, and I definitely feel like, when we had the scene where like she came to like the window and she looked at herself and it was the Scarlet Witch instead of her, that kind of aspect of it too, like being possessed almost, you
Mhm.
know? I thought that was really kind of cool. And I think especially during and after the fightings happening, that like her menace and her like the way that she looks really is exemplified in these scenes where she
Mhm.
looks terrifying,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it was very interesting. And now that you say that, it sounds very Moon Knight esque,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But so you said that most of your opinions come from the fight.
Yes. Yes, they
Are
do.
they good opinions or bad opinions?
They're
Well, I
bad.
mean, not like are they
They're bad.
opinions that
They're negatively based opinions.
okay? I think we'll probably agree then.
Okay, cool. So,
Okay.
my biggest opinion of this movie, and actually one of the biggest influences of why I give the movie the rating that I will give it, is because I think that the characterization of Reed Richards was absolutely butchered by whomever it was that wrote the scene. And I don't care whether you say it's a variant, it's a different version of him. I don't care if you say that. He is supposed to be one of the smartest Marvel characters ever.
Mhm.
And you basically make him do and say stupid stuff that does not fly with me,
Mhm.
because I'm a big fan of the Fantastic Four. I love the comics and the movies and everything else about it. So when you give me a version of Reed Richards that basically says and does stupid things, that makes me mad. It makes me very annoyed, you
What did
know?
he say? Do you
So
remember?
obviously the one line when he was like, oh, someone's breaching the compound, and even Doctor Strange was like, no shit, genius, like that aspect. But
Yeah.
then the other part is like where he reveals to Wanda Black Bolt's power of how he can disintegrate her by his mouth.
Uh.
And that indicates to her, oh, I should close the mouth. And that's what she does. And then stupidest part that I thought was really dumb, and I think this must have been some sort of choice, but whatever writer or producer it was, that he thought that after he saw Black Bolt's mouth be shut by Wanda, and that his brain and mind imploded by him trying to vocalize and he dies, then his one thought of what he decides to do is throw a rubber hand at her to try and kill her or stop her or whatever he was going to think to do. Like, where did you think this mentality was going? What did you think that this was? Did you think that that was going to work after you just saw one of the most powerful characters that you have in your group get basically murked by what she did? You know, like, did you
Like
not
he
think
should
that
have
this was
come
going
up
to
with
happen
a
to you?
plan.
You know,
Yeah, like he should have had a good plan.
like, I thought a better thing that he could have done was he could have ran away or backed up, let the two other powerful-ish characters take center stage and have some sort of like technology or something ready at hand for him to use, because he's the smartest man in the world. He should have something as a contingency plan rather than his rubberized arm. I'm sorry, I don't like that. Like,
That's a good point.
it makes it seem like, yeah, it's supposed to be the smartest man in the world, and yes, he's supposed to be a variant, but it's like he's still intelligent enough to not be so dumb in the decisions and things he says. Like, he is experienced. He's not like a rookie. He is with Sue Storm. He has two kids who in the comics came later on in the Fantastic Four's run of their publication. So it's like he's obviously someone who's dealt with things. He fought Thanos before and used the Book of Ashanti to fight and kill Thanos. So are you telling me that he did something so stupid and naive as to think that when he just saw his friend got killed, that he was going to do anything to fix that? I don't know why you thought this. This,
That's a
this
good
makes
point.
no sense.
That doesn't make any sense. You're right. I didn't think about that at all. But that's a very good point. Because even like Doctor Strange had backup plans. Iron Man had plenty of backup plans when things went awry.
Right.
And they're not supposed to be the smartest characters in the universe.
Right.
Interesting. That's a very good point.
Like, and I think,
But if he did have a good plan, I don't
yeah,
think it would have been. I think it would have made sense for the character, but I don't know if it would have been necessarily the best thing for the movie. That
no.
makes sense.
And that's where I feel like you're kind of like slicing and dicing, like, what would be good for the movie, what would be good for the character. And I feel like if you're appealing to your fans that love this character so much, that want to see it done right by Marvel Studios, that you do something kind of dumb to this character, it just doesn't sit right with me. Like, if you want to make this so important that this is the first time you see a Fox character come into the MCU and have it be the fan favorite, that you just make him do something stupid.
Right.
Like, I
Maybe they did
really
that
hope
so that way people are like, bring him back for like in Earth 616, so that way we have like a good
a
Mr.
good
Fantastic
version
on
of
Earth
him.
616. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Like our version's better.
I've heard comments that like say that like, oh, he was kind of naive because he didn't think of Wanda as a threat, because in his universe Wanda isn't a threat, and they weren't really taken into any consideration about who the Scarlet Witch was.
Mhm.
So yeah, there could be that aspect of it, but still, like, have that in the back of your mind. Like, Doctor Strange is telling you something's going on with Wanda that you kind of need to be alerted about. Like, you're not going to take that into consideration for like 1 second, you know?
Yeah, that's strange.
Especially after
Unintended.
like your friend gets killed. Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that really annoys me. Every other character that died in this scene, I am perfectly fine by, because it is the exact way that you could think of how they die. Like, Black Bolt is being killed by his own mouth being used. Captain Carter is getting killed by her own shield, cutting her in half. Captain Marvel is being killed by like basically too much energy being thrown at her, basically. And Professor X, same thing. Like, I thought he was gonna get killed by inside his mind, and that's exactly what happened. Makes sense. But then you have Reed Richards, who is really smart, who probably has a lot of experience, and in the multiverse too, by the way, because they know the multiverse exists.
Yeah.
So it's like he knows of all the things that happen in the multiverse and in their universe with their Thanos, and he didn't think about how to maybe not do something stupid.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
again, it's like that kind of thing that just irks me about it. A fan favorite of mine is getting killed off in the stupidest way possible. You know.
Mhm. That's a good point. That's a very good point. I mean, Mr. Fantastic isn't one of my favorite. I'm not like a huge comic book person like you. I
Yeah.
liked him in the movies, like the movies
Mhm.
that we have seen, but he
Yeah.
wasn't like a big thing. I also wasn't expecting them. I don't know
Yeah.
if you are. So like that didn't catch me off guard.
Mhm.
That part I didn't even like think about at all. But you make a
Yeah.
very, very good point there.
Mhm.
Could have been done differently.
Yeah. What did you think about all the deaths? I've been talking a little bit about the deaths. What did you think of all these deaths that happened with all these characters of the Illuminati? What did you think?
I basically could have it wrapped up in like a sentence,
Okay.
and it's maybe 2 words. Too violent. It was just too violent for me.
Oh, I think people are gonna hate you for that one.
That people are gonna hate me for that one.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people online that are saying like, oh, kind of like, it's not that violent. It could have been worse. Kind of
Oh, it
grow
definitely
up.
could have been worse. But I think I don't watch a lot of movies that are graphic at all.
Right.
So for
So to
me,
you, it's kind of like a culture shock.
yeah, for me it was too graphic. Or not
Okay.
graphic. Well, I don't know if graphics are. It's too violent.
This is just Billy's opinion. It is
This is
Billy's
no
kind of like his thing.
completely my opinion. Like someone else can have a completely different opinion than me,
Yeah.
and I completely understand it. Just for me, which is
Hmm.
all I can talk about right now.
I don't think
But
it was too violent. I think it was not. It's not shocking, but it's kind of like, oh, they did that. Like Marvel actually like split a person in half. Oh, someone got like, spaghettified and had his head blown up, basically. Like
mhm.
those kind of things. I'm like, wow, they did that. It wasn't a surprise. It was more like they stepped up a notch in how they kill people.
Yeah, I think yeah, because Marvel isn't that
Yeah. Since it's owned by
typical.
Disney, Disney kind of wants it to be like more family friendly, but now that you're getting like a lot of blood and gore, and especially I think because of how they transferred the Netflix series over to Disney Plus with the age restriction, they're kind of like dipping their toe into the water of like getting people used to that, I think, especially for those who are more inclined to having more graphic things happen. I
Mhm.
think they're kind of appealing to that a little bit and kind of getting away from the values they used to have way back when and kind of gaining new values while also gaining more, a different perspective of certain things.
Yeah, I definitely notice a lot more young people. I feel old when I say that. A lot more young people are watching a lot more graphic things
Mhm.
than at least when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to keep with the times.
Yeah. Less desensitization of things and more of like let's show them like a good story and good action, and sometimes there will be things like the deaths that we saw and it happens. You'll see it more and more in movies as you grow up. So you know we're not showing you the intestines and like everything inside the body as some things getting cut in half. We're just showing you she gets cut in half and we see it off like in the distance and her
Mm.
body just
Kind of like
falls.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Basically when like the when Snape was like cut in half by the lightsaber, and then he like
When who is cut in half?
Snape, was it Snape? What's his name? I don't know.
That's Harry Potter.
I know. I don't know
I
what his
get so
name is.
confused.
That guy, the guy in the throne chair from Last Jedi, that dude.
The Last Jedi?
Yeah,
I'm talking. Wait.
Snoke. That's his name. It's Snoke.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about that scene. I was thinking about the Phantom Menace.
Oh, when Darth Maul gets split in half.
That's why I was confused why you didn't know his name.
No, no, no. I'm thinking of Snoke, the guy in the big throne, the bigger dude. He got the lightsaber like right
I know what you're
in
talking
there.
about now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy.
Apparently, it happens a couple times. Um, what do you think about the less? What do you think about the less intense fight scene with Doctor Strange? I can't think of his name, and the Sorcerer Supreme from that universe.
Oh, Mordo.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that was a good scene. That was a good hand-to-hand combat scene. Not using magic, actually fighting, bare-fisted and feet and everything. I like that. I like that Doctor Strange outwitted him by throwing him down like into the little moat, if you want to call it, like the separator between the Illuminati and whoever's on trial and stuff. And like
Played some like mind games.
he uses like Mordo to like jump onto the wall and like crawl up, you know.
Yeah, it was very clever.
Mm-hmm.
It was stark contrast between the other fight scenes
Right.
that I had just finished.
Yeah.
Now what happens
I want to
after
talk a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about like Professor X's scene when he died, because I think that one is interesting in that like I had predicted that that was going to happen before the movie happened, where he was going to like enter into Wanda's mind, because that's obviously who he is. Like that's the mutant power he has. Enters into her mind to try and convince her to like leave and try and break the spell and everything. Then the red cloud comes around, and all of a sudden, neck snapped. And in his mind, it's kind of like in the Matrix, where it's like, if you die in the Matrix, you die in real life, and that was kind of what happened here, where like his mind got killed, so he inevitably gets killed too.
Do you think it was weird that the Wanda couldn't fight herself? Does that make sense?
Like the Wanda in this universe couldn't fight against the Wanda that was possessing her, you mean?
Yeah.
No. I think dreamwalking in itself is an aspect of like, you're getting possessed basically. And you enter into the body of someone else, and then it's this dark spell that gets created. So yeah, I don't think that she had any way of influencing that in any way.
Okay. I'm okay with that explanation.
Because it's a dark spell. We're into the dark mystic witchcraft of what she's working with. So I think in that aspect, like, it's a level higher, since she is the Scarlet Witch, a level higher than like Wanda Maximoff's regular powers that she has.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you think of like
Mhm.
after that scene that they go through the tunnels and everything else, and then they enter through with using the watch to get to the Gap region where the Book of Ashanti is, and then they go to the Book of Ashanti. He picks it up, and then like Wanda's there, takes America, burns the Book of Ashanti, and then like sends them off to the multiverse.
Yeah. There's two thoughts I have about that.
Okay.
One, I like that the watch was the key.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very nice because that just shows like all Doctor Stranges are the same.
Right.
That Doctor Strange knew that the other Doctor Strange or another Doctor Strange would have that watch.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is they really need to fireproof their magic books.
Right.
Or something.
Yeah.
All the things that they have, and they couldn't do like a fire resistant spell or something like that.
Right. Such a very big book of magic in the mystic arts, and it's like not
protected at all.
I think it's because remember back in WandaVision when Agatha was talking about who the Scarlet Witch is, that like her magic is not controlled by any coven or anything like that, that she is representative of chaos magic, and that she has the power to overthrow the Sorcerer Supreme, basically. I think it's because like since she has the Darkhold and the Scarlet Witch magic, that her magic exceeded that of whatever sorcery was being used with the Book of Ashanti in that case. Like she's so powerful. She's one of the biggest multiversal like beings that she had that ability to just wipe it out.
I see.
That might be it.
Maybe. I mean, that makes sense because that book did not last.
Yeah. But then it's like in my mind afterwards, I was like, wait, so we spent like probably 2/3 of this movie saying we need to get to this book of Ashanti, and then we get to it and we don't use it and it gets burned. Like, well, that was kind of a waste.
It kind of reminds me of a lot of complaints in I can't think which Star Wars it was. One of the Star Wars movies, one of the new ones.
Mm.
Um, is it Poe? Oh no, Finn. One of them tries to get to like this like planet or something, or tries to get to help these people, and they
Mm.
finally get there. And then when they get there, they get stuck there, and then it's like basically nothing happens because
Oh
of
yeah,
this.
it's basically a trip just to trip around.
Exactly, and nothing amounts to it. And that was
Yeah,
kind of like this. I
kind
feel
of.
like this one wasn't as bad though.
Yeah, because I think they reached the goal they were going to use it, but then Wanda came in and just said no. So then they had to be creative and do something else.
Mhm, exactly.
Yeah. Which was
Now,
convenient because they got sent into a universe where like the incursion was happening. And because of that incursion happening, that was able to allow them to go to Sinister Strange and use
mhm,
the Darkhold in that universe, basically.
mhm. Is that the Doctor Strange from What If?
No,
No, right?
no.
Because Doctor Strange in What If is like contained.
Yeah, he's contained by the Watcher. But this one is basically because of an incursion that happened that he caused, supposedly.
Mhm,
And because he tried to use the dark hole to do whatever he wanted to do, he got corrupted by it, and that's why he's the Sinister Strange.
mhm. Now, what do you think about that whole um dynamic?
So I want to just point out that I know a lot of people love this scene when, like, they were fighting with the musical notes. I thought it was kind of corny, honestly. Like,
A little bit.
all right.
I was okay with it, but I agree.
Yeah.
I was also kind of like, hmm.
No. Oh, let's
Like
use the
Doctor
music notes.
Strange, like
We're
being so
going to play music as we do it.
yeah, like Doctor Strange being so powerful at the beginning. We saw him do like all those spells and stuff, and then this just doesn't feel like it would. This is how it would happen.
Right.
You know?
But hey, I'm not gonna argue with it. A lot of people thought it was cool. I didn't think it was like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. Everyone's opinion, right?
Right.
I'm sure the people who wrote it and made it were probably like, "This is the coolest thing ever."
Yeah. What a genius idea. We need to put it in the movie right now.
Yeah, and they were right for some people.
Yeah. And then we see that Doctor Strange get sent through the glass and then
Very graphic again.
another graphic death for Billy. It's like,
Another
how
one for
many more of
Doctor
these can I
Strange too.
handle?
Another one for another Doctor Strange. I don't know what it is about Doctor Strange from 616 has to be careful about that kind of stuff now.
Yeah. Being impaled by something is apparently the way he dies a lot.
Apparently. Also, I thought it was funny that every single Doctor Strange, yeah, every Doctor Strange that was in that movie was played by Benedict Cumberbatch. But none of the Lokis, or not none, most of the Lokis from Loki were different than Tom Hiddleston.
Mhm.
I just thought that was interesting. I mean, if it's a multiverse, you can't like there's infinite amounts, so you can't really nitpick there. But I just
Yeah.
thought it was interesting.
I think it's because from What If Episode 4, we got told that Doctor Strange becoming the sorcerer that he is a fixed point in time, and that in my interpretation, that means that all Doctor Stranges will be the same dude. And you can't deviate away from that. That's like a fixed point of reality that he himself, that Dr. Stephen Strange, played by this person, has to always be Doctor Strange. It can't be a woman. It can't be, someone like
Alligator.
a child. It can't be like, yeah, it can't be an alligator. It has to be this one guy. This one guy. And even in this movie, we saw that even like two different versions of Doctor Strange have some variations in the injuries that they have. So that probably kind of caused something to change about how Doctor Strange operates or something like that. So
Yeah.
the
They
small
all they all have their
variations,
different
yeah,
uh time lock moments, but they
yeah,
all have a time lock moment.
right.
A fixed point.
they may have different variations of themselves, like the Doctor Strange in 838 has no beard and has slightly different uh, destruction of his hands,
Mhm,
but he's still the same guy, basically.
mhm.
What
I'm
did
looking
you
at the.
think about Doctor Strange invoking the dream walking and then possessing the body of Defender Strange?
First thing I thought was Thriller, Michael Jackson.
I
I don't know why, but I
don't know.
haven't seen.
There's nothing they're saying zombies in Thriller's music video or anything.
Yeah, I know, right? Like totally random. But I remember we talked about when the What If came. That was the first zombie thing I'd ever seen. This is the
Mhm.
second. So it was just it felt. Because I'm not like a big zombie person. It felt
Right.
kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It just felt weird. Like it felt like it was forced.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know why. It felt like they're trying to force like
Zombies.
every single horror movie theme into this one movie.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I mean, it made sense. Don't get me wrong. It made sense for the movie, but it just felt weird. Like I was
Yeah.
like, Marvel's doing too much zombie stuff right
Mhm.
now.
Well, I just thought of this when you were saying that there's a lot of horror stuff in this movie, that even the music has some horror connotations to it. Like when Gargantos gets revealed,
Uh-huh.
it's similar to, I forget what the movie's called, but it was like this black demon from a Disney film. It was like an animated film back in like the 1950s or 60s. It was this classic thing of like bum 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 bum. That thing, kind of similar to how Gargantos was
Very
introduced.
ominous.
Right. And then when Doctor Strange and Sinister Strange were fighting, it was like da-na-na, da-na-na, that was being played as well. So the
Mhm.
music being played were like, prototypical horror type of music, the dark, ominous type of music that's well
Yeah.
known to a lot of people.
Mhm. That's a good point. Marvel does do a good job though with all their music in the
Mhm.
background.
In the details of how it is important.
Yeah, because I feel like at least for me, I never really pick up on it,
Mhm.
but like you do. Like I'm just not
Right.
conscious about it.
Mhm.
But what'd you think about that whole thing?
I thought it was cool that Doctor Strange like got into the body
Mm.
and like rose from the grave,
It was
came out.
definitely cool.
Yeah. And then he used all the souls of the damned as a cloak. I was like, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go with this.
I was not expecting all
It's
that.
a pretty badass cloak in my opinion, not gonna lie. It's not the same as the cloak of levitation in its personality, but I think it's a
Mm.
pretty cool cloak, not gonna
It
lie.
fit. It fit the scene.
Yeah, it fit the character, it fit the scene, it
Mhm.
worked well.
What'd you think about the fight at the end? Oh, pseudo fight.
It's a fight. I mean, literally, America Chavez punched Wanda through the multiverse to get to hell, right? She punched a
Yeah.
Stark World to get her to hell. Like that punch would have like killed a person. But since Wanda is so powerful as the Scarlet Witch, it's like she's like, and then gets punched again.
Yeah. What'd you think about like the resolution to this?
I think it was exactly how it should have been. In the same way that WandaVision gave the resolution that, like, even though what she was doing benefited her, it really hurt a lot of people.
Mm.
In this way, she actually did hurt a lot and killed a lot of people for something that she's like, I'm not a monster, and then realize like, oh crap, I am a monster. Oh no, there's a reason why these kids are afraid of me. Is because I am actually a monster that literally just like killed a crap ton of people for
Mm.
something that I wanted, And then I think that's where the realization came about of like what Doctor Strange was basically saying. It's like, I was justified in what I was doing because we were at war and it was the only option for us to do, and it was beneficial in the long run. It may have hurt some aspects of certain people, but that was kind of like the sacrifice that we had to play in that moment. And then she kind of realized, like, oh crap, like even though I want this, it's not something I'm going to have.
Mhm.
And I did the wrong thing here, you know? And I think when she finally realized that, and then that 838 version of Wanda came over and she was like, know that they'll be loved. It was kind of like her understanding that she perceived what like Wanda was seeing because they were linked. So she saw what she saw and she felt what she felt. So in that, she was like, okay, I kind of understand what you were going at, and I can understand the pain you were going through, but just know that they'll be fine in the end.
Very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question I was gonna say earlier that I was like, this is too soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what happens with White Vision now?
I thought he was going to appear in the movie as like
Th-
the character that was going to come in and kind of be like the voice of reason for Wanda,
mhm.
but he never showed up. So I was like, okay, fine.
Because I thought like the whole point of White Vision was so that way they could be together again, but that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem like that's gonna.
Well,
Doesn't seem like it's an option anymore.
well, my theory is that she's not dead. I don't think she's dead.
Okay.
For the following reason, she is way too powerful to have just had a bunch of rocks kill her, right? She is literally one of the most powerful beings in the multiverse. You're going to tell me just a bunch of rocks just killed her off? No, I think she sacrificed the entire Wundagore Mountain to collapse it so that way no one could use Wundagore in the Darkhold again. But I think she might have teleported away somewhere to isolate herself yet again, uh, because she knows she did something wrong and she needs to be punished, punishing herself essentially for it. So I don't think she's dead. Just by logic, it doesn't make sense. And there's no reason why White Vision would exist if Wanda
Doesn't.
doesn't exist, in my opinion. I feel like they kind of need to reconnect somehow.
Well, I don't know. Like how that reunion would go.
It would be
Because we
interesting.
know that. Because I like there's like rumors of the Young Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
So like the kids have to. Kids could play. The kids could play a role in that, but in order for the kids to play a role in that, the kids have to be born,
Right.
right? Or not born. They have to be created at some
Created through
level.
magic.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wish they showed like the whole thing about um what was Doctor Strange's love interest's name?
Christine Palmer.
Thank you. I wish they showed that the scene where like they both got brought back to their own universes, like their goodbye. I thought that would have been
That would be
interesting.
nice.
Yeah. But then it skips to them cleaning Comatage
Mm-hmm.
and Doctor Strange saying she needs to be patient and all that
Yeah.
nonsense.
Similar
And
to
we get
how
like the
he needed
nice
to be patient.
yeah, and we got like that nice relaxing resolution. Everything's done. The movie's
And then Third
over.
Eye.
And then there that, yeah. And it just comes out of nowhere. I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if you
thought
were.
someone was coming to attack him.
I
I
did
didn't
too.
realize that it was just like a third eye forming on his head.
Just on himself, yeah. So what does that mean?
Well, that's his eternal punishment for utilizing the Darkhold,
That's a
dream walking
punishment?
into a dead body. You know,
How is that a punishment?
well, it's like do you really want a third eye?
Well, I feel like they showed that when he closes it, you can't even tell it's there.
True. Well, obviously he wants to seem normal as he's walking down the street, right? I don't think you want to be like, oh my god, is that a third eye? It's kind of freaky.
But then how'd that be a punishment if you can like control it so easily?
I don't know. I think it's like, it's like the start of the punishment, in the same way
Yes.
that Sinister Strange became fully sinister and developed the third eye, like, that's like the beginning part of it. But since like the Darkhold was destroyed and like, he only was in the body for a certain amount of time, that it's not going to be like a punishment that was the same as Sinister Strange.
Mhm. See, this is weird because I like the Doctor Strange from the 616 universe because he was more. I don't know if pure is the right word, but I think he
Mm,
was like he always did things for a good reason, and I
mhm,
don't like that this is leading down a certain path.
mhm.
You know, and who
Yeah.
was the lady?
Oh, so that mid credit scene.
Yeah, who was that?
So that is Clea.
Okay, who's that?
I know that means nothing to you.
Yeah.
So she is the niece of Dormammu. She becomes eventually in the comics the wife of Doctor Strange. And actually later on in the comics still she is becoming the Sorcerer Supreme.
What happens to Doctor Strange?
Obviously he either retires, gets killed, some aspect of that. I don't really know. I just know that she becomes Sorcerer Supreme.
Interesting.
So my theory about what this
Interesting.
mid-credit scene means, because I know a lot of people kind of relate this as being one of the weaker scenes that they've seen from Marvel, but like Clay obviously is a very important character to Doctor Strange's mythos.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
if they
I,
get married.
yeah, and I think that the incursion that they're talking about is the one from No Way Home, where Doctor Strange created the spell and the spell brought all these characters into this universe. And because of that, the universes are starting to like kind of come close to touching,
Hmm.
almost gaining an incursion. And I think because of this happening, Dormammu's kind of like, he wants to still have Earth as part of his domain, and because of that, I think he concerns over that, or either that or Clea does, one of the two.
Okay.
So that's something that needs to be kind of investigated more. And we're obviously going to see that Doctor Strange is going to return. So
Yeah.
until we see the resolution of why the incursion means so much to Clea and being part of the Dark Dimension, then we won't really know. It's based on speculation at this point.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a big character to introduce. I had no clue who that was.
Mhm.
Interesting. I like that. It's good that he finds a wife. That
Yeah,
um
and we'll accept him for his third eye and everything.
yeah, I know, right? She can get him a new watch and everything. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Um interesting. So
Before we get into like ratings and everything, I have
I was
two
just gonna
more
ask you
things
about the
I
rating.
completely forgot about.
Okay.
So one line that I think is one of my favorite lines or favorite exchanges in the entire movie is when Reed Richards and Wanda are talking to each other, and Reed Richards is like, "I understand your pain. I have children of my own," and she's like, "Is their mother still alive?" And he goes, "Yes," and then she's like, "Good. There will be somebody left to raise them." I was like, "Wow."
Yeah.
She's so cold.
Yeah.
That was the
Very.
coldest line.
Yeah. That's a good point that you picked that up. That was very just dark. I don't know another
Yeah,
way to say that. Then it was just very no. It was like aggressive, but it was just I don't know.
menacing.
Yeah, that's the right word. Very much so.
Mm. And also confirmed that at least in this universe, Sue Storm exists. Their children, Franklin Richards and Val Richards, exists. And you probably don't know, but Franklin Richards is probably one of the most, if not the most powerful Marvel Comics character in the entire multiverse.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How so?
He like even the gods respect the power that Franklin Richards has because it's the combination of Reed Richards and his abilities and his mind and Sue Storm and her abilities and everything else. That combination kind of generated Franklin Richards, who is designated. It's nothing important to you, but it's an Omega level type of character, which
Hmm.
has like such a large, immense power to them.
Interesting. I wonder if they're. I wonder when they're gonna pick up the Fantastic Four in the 616 universe. I wonder if they're gonna pick it up like they already are a thing, kind of like they did with Spider Man, where he
Mm-hmm.
was already a thing. We didn't get an origin story,
Mm-hmm.
or we're gonna see like the whole origin. 'Cause that would be interesting.
Mhm.
to see that character in 616.
Mhm. Well, we're gonna get a Fantastic Four movie soon, like in the next couple of years, so we will hopefully see how that works.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be good.
And then the other thing that was kind of alluded when you just said something was that the discussion about Spider-Man in the pizza shop. We kind of glanced over that.
That was so funny. Various other bug-related superheroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, he shoots webs out of his butt. Maybe could explain a lot.
Yeah, no, like, she has no experience with Spider-Man, so it's like
Mhm.
Spider-Man, spiders, they shoot webs. That's
Their
so
butt.
funny. Yeah, I thought that was so clever. And then like when the person wants to take a picture,
Oh
Doctor
yeah,
Strange, and it was a funny dynamic there.
yeah. It's like you went to Christine's wedding. Wait, you married Christine? Hey, do you mind if I take a picture? It's like, yes, I do. No, I didn't. Yes, I did.
It was very well done
Hmm.
because it was just like an offhand moment that was funny.
Right.
Uh,
All right. So now let's conjure up all our magic together and create a rating for this movie as a whole.
mhm. I want to hear yours first.
Oh, all right. Here's a question: will you be influenced by my rating of the
No.
movie? Okay, good. I am very surprised by what I give it because a few of my friends agree with the rating and actually give it the same rating, which is kind of interesting. Uh,
Interesting.
so I give it an 8 out of 10. And a lot of
Okay.
the points were deducted because of the way that Reed Richards was characterized. And there were
Okay.
some other aspects that I was kind of like, about this, about that, It's not, it wasn't, and again, it didn't have the same awe or excitement as No Way Home did. That had a lot more excitement. But this one is up there. It's not a bad Marvel movie. It's not a good Marvel movie. It's a really good Marvel movie. It's not great. It's not my all-time favorite, but
It's not
it's
like No Way Home or Endgame or
I would put this fourth if I were to rank it right now. I'd put it fourth.
okay. So I know I just mentioned two of your top twos. What's the
Mhm.
other one?
So it's Endgame, Infinity War, Spider-Man: No Way
Oh,
Home,
Infinity War.
Multiverse of Madness. And I think it's because, and I've been kind of thinking about this, I really enjoy big crossover events for any superhero movie or anything like that. I like when
Mm,
different storylines kind of come together from different characters and into one central story. So that's
That's
why I
definitely
think I
Marvel's
like,
niche.
yeah. So I think that's why I like these movies the most, is because there are all these different characters that kind of get converged into one place.
Mhm. Yeah, that's definitely a theme between all these movies that you like.
Mhm.
Mm. Now, my rating. It's gonna be different than yours.
Can I give like a guess as to what I think of it?
Of course.
I think it's going to be lower because of the fact that it was too violent and a little gory and a little more than you usually like are used to, not just from a Marvel movie, but from like a movie
In
period.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I
like
think it's going to be
wholesome.
slightly like lower.
I like wholesome. I definitely like wholesome movies.
Mhm.
And this definitely wasn't.
It was not wholesome. It was half some. Someone got halved.
This, yeah. If you had to take it, so you're right, it's a little bit lower. If you had to take a guess, what the number was,
I think it's a 7.
pretty much. Yeah, I was going between like a 6.5 and a 7,
Yeah,
but I was leaning towards 7, so I'm gonna give it to you.
the 7.
Yeah, because it's I can definitely see how people would like the movie. It's
Hmm.
not my type of movie, but I can definitely see how people would like it. I can
Right.
definitely see the criticisms that you're bringing up
Hmm.
about the movie. But just overall for me, it's not like a movie like I want to watch a movie. I'm gonna go watch this.
We're
That's
gonna
not the
watch
type.
this.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen. The only reason why I'm gonna watch this again is because someone hasn't seen it and that's the next movie in the order that they need to watch,
Mhm.
or we're gonna analyze it or something like that.
Or tie into another movie or TV show that like this kind of got influenced by.
Exactly. Like I'm never gonna voluntarily watch this movie again unless there's some ulterior reason. That makes sense.
I definitely will, but it's only because of Reed Richards, because I love Reed Richards.
Only until Reed Richards is in Earth 616. Once he's there, you're just gonna be watching that one.
Oh yeah, repeat.
Exactly.
Well, that's it for this episode, you guys. I hope you love Multiverse of Madness as much as we did. If you did, drop down the comments down below and tell us your favorite aspects of this movie.
Or
Like
least
I
favorite.
say,
Most
least
favorite. Things you would have changed. Things you would have kept the same. A post-credit scene that you would have added.
or taken away.
Or taken away. That's true.
And while you're down there, you can hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button that's also down there, and hit the Instagram page that's in our bio down below. And
Now you want it.
until next time, what do we say, Billy?
Stay nerdy, everyone.
Stay nerdy.
I'm glad I didn't sneeze.